Good morning. I told you I'd be back once again. I'm here to clean up a mess of all kinds of flying monkeys going on Facebook. Actually, using my own wording, which I just find as a compliment, and some issues that's going on with the Johnny Jacobs case. Now, it's really not his accident per se, but I want to clarify a few things. So let's start off with there was an accident that happened same day on the 14th of March with someone with the last name Jacobs. It was about maybe 4 minutes before midnight. So it was dated on the 14th. It was like a fender bender, and it was a hit and run. And the reason why you don't see on that incident report another driver is because it's hit and run. It's actually X'd out on the incident report. I have it. It was very little damage. Nobody got hurt. So it really wasn't a big deal. Now, yes, this person has the last name Jacobs. Has it been confirmed that they know each other? No, it has not. I have been told by people that are from the area that you could live in the same county, have the same last name, and not even know each other. Excuse me, never even met each other. And that's possible in any place. Okay. I have family. I'm from Long Island. My parents are from Brooklyn. And we have family that own businesses in Manhattan. I've never met them. I have no idea who they are, and vice versa. Okay. So it happens everywhere. Just because you have the last name, it is kind of coincidental that two Jacobs have in Robeson County have an accident on the 14th. But okay. The other thing is, of course, once again, we have someone who creates an account on Facebook. They do it on TikTok. They do it everywhere. They don't show, their face. They don't say what their name is. They just hide behind some idiotic profile. And this one is called The Agency. Okay. And the agency has a real axe to grind with a few people. Now, I've read a few things on the agency I found very interesting. They're kind of going after Angelita. They're going after Abel. But I want to read a few things. Now, one of the things that this agency has said on their chats or on their page, that they're indicating they think that Robbie Harvey has a reason to have offed Johnny Jacobs. You have got to be out of your mind. Absolutely out of your mind. Okay. If you read the posts, you really, really read the posts, it looks like multiple people are writing this profile. Now, Robbie speculates that it's JP, very possibly, but I don't know if he could write eloquently. My reading it makes me think it's Susie Skinner or True Crime Ray. But it's definitely someone on that side of the fence, the pro JP people. Okay. So let me see if I could find, I did, take down a couple of screenshots. Now, let me just read. This was written 8 hours ago by the agency. Game over. This page will not be a playground for Robbie Harvey's flying monkeys. Where did you all hear that expression? If you're one of the few capable of engaging in adult conversation, you can stay. However, I will not deal with the elementary, we know your JP rhetoric from juvenile brains trapped in adult bodies. I've concluded you folks couldn't find your ASS if it wasn't attached. If you're engaged in this manner, you're about to be blocked. For anyone else who comes over here doing so, you will be blocked immediately. Now that sounds like True Crime Ray. Okay? Because we've all, dealt with that. Now, this one is 21 hours ago. I'm going to read it to you. It's pretty long, but bear with me because there's good reason for it. And this person says long post, but I'll break it down for you, okay? It seems Susie and JP are a couple, his words, While that's their personal business, their subterfuge, of course, leads to speculation. Now, that sounds like a woman scorned by JP. Number two, I can't speculate. No proof that JP is responsible physically trigger for Mica's passing. Okay, nobody asked you actually. Number three, would a crappy marriage and emotional issues drive someone over the edge? Yes, I wouldn't have married a cheater to begin with. So once again, we're pushing the narrative that Mica did this to herself. Ding, 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 ding. Do we know which side this is coming from? Definitely not pro Mica. The Chris Skinner situation is sad. Unless pool video is released, I'll stay with accident. No, I do not want to see it. Nobody's offering it to you. Number six, can he be tried just for being a bad husband? Not in any court case I've found. Okay. Once again, let's start from the beginning of Johnnie Jacobs' death on Friday. Because of his death, it came out through his, and I'm going to repeat it again in case the agency is listening. Under his sister's chat, where she posted about his death, this is his sister. Somebody had put under there that John Paul Miller has been threatening him. And everyone there agreed. Family, friends. I'm going to believe them before I believe you. Why? Because they actually have their names and profile pictures. You don't. And they knew him. Well, if John Paul is so innocent as you claim, why would he threaten Johnnie Jacobs? You have an answer for that, agency? I bet you don't. Okay, let's go on. Do I believe something janky has been going on for years with Reverend W. Miller? Yes. Well, we all do. Do I believe Reverend J. Miller learned at his father's feet? Yes. This is someone that knows him. Jane Doe allegations. I have a lot of questions. South Carolina has some strange age laws. Really? Do you know one of the people who are Jane Doe was about 15 years old? So you believe at 15 it's okay for a grown man to want to have relations with her or force her, as she's claimed. Idiot. Johnnie Jacobs, yes, it's a known fact. He spoke to an attorney in the beginning, verified he met again, and was planning on a cease and desist lawsuit. That does not make Robbie Harvey a murder suspect. Okay? Cease and desist letters have nothing to do with somebody taking another person's life. So what you're saying is Robbie Harvey hired the guy in the Mercedes-Benz to go through a stop sign so that Johnnie could hit him, knowing he'd have no seatbelt on and end up dead. Really? Is that what you're trying to convince all of us? Because you're a nut job. Kayaker, no wonder he doesn't want to speak. I wouldn't either. Well, maybe if you were paying attention, we figured out who the kayaker was a long, long time ago. And you know who else did? The FBI. Number 13, I don't find anything sinister about Johnnie Jacobs' untimely death. Well, good for you. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everyone. You know what they say about opinions, don't you? And you're acting like one in all your posts. I believe Mica was a troubled soul. Reading your posts, I believe you are as well. So if we find you unalived, should we not even look into it? Does losing a child make you change? Yes. So now we're going to go after Angelita. Now let me start with that, okay? Because this one really just has an absolute. I'm not even going to read anymore because I feel like I have to take a shower. They're going after everything that everybody has ever said on the justice for Mica. The main characters. We got Angelita, the mother. Nobody's talking about the dad. Nobody's talking about the girls. You know, you never see, and it's always the same people being brought up. It's always Robbie Harvey. There is a few other people, but, you know, it's very little. But the main characters are always Robbie Harvey, Angelita, and Abel. And there's only a few people that seem to go after these three. Okay. And it's always related to John Paul. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's John Paul writing that, but it's definitely someone who's close to John Paul and has an axe to grind. Now, what I find funny is on TikTok, I have seen very little of True Crime Ray. So I guess she's moved to a new platform because that's who it sounds like it is. Or a combination, as I said earlier, of a few people. Once again, I'm going to give this advice because it works in every situation. Don't give any oxygen to it. It's obviously somebody who's trying to push that narrative once again. The false narrative that John Paul is a totally innocent man. Okay? Totally innocent men do not have the FBI raid your house. Okay? Let me try to explain this like, I don't know, like you're a 5-year-old, Miss Agency. The FBI, let me say it again, do not get a federal judge to write a warrant, to accept a warrant for a raid unless there's probable cause behind it. Do you get it now? Do you understand there's multiple agencies watching and checking, and your account is probably one of them now? Congratulations, you made it onto the list. Now you're probably being watched. Every one of you, as you say, flying monkeys. Wonder where you got that from. You're so original. How trite to use my wording. But thank you. I take it as a compliment. Innocent men who have bad marriages, as you put it, don't get raided by the feds. The end. Innocent men don't have their neighbors and mail lady calling the 911 sheriff's department to accuse them of trafficking. Because that was the reason for the call. Same man and same call totally destroyed his alibi. People who are innocent don't lie about their alibi. I mean, I don't get it. We're 10 and a half months in. Are you sniffing glue? Because this has already been laid out. What is your purpose? And then to turn around. Now, listen, I get aggravated at some of the things that are reported. True. That's true. But never in my wildest dreams would I ever think to say, just because Mr. Harvey and Mr. Jacobs are having a disagreement, that Mr. Harvey, who lives in like 2 states away and has no axe to grind with this man, just because there's a possible lawsuit. Johnny's going to go talk to a lawyer, so Robbie Harvey is going to have him rubbed out. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. But you know what that does sound like? It sounds like somebody who's trying to shift the direction from the very person who's been threatening him for months. And who's been doing that the whole time? Anybody? Bueller? It's been pro JP people. You've been figured out. It took maybe 3 posts for me to figure out who you are. That's how unoriginal you are. Just take the page down. 1, it's going to get reported. And 2, the feds are watching. And they're going to wonder why your voice sounds just like the voice on the April 27th call. They're going to wonder why. And you just keep making profiles and profiles all over the place to defend your dream boyfriend, the guy that you wish would have chose you over Susie. We know who you are. And to have to go after a grieving mother is probably the most I don't care what she's saying on chats. She's going to say the wrong thing. Have you ever grieved a child? Have you? I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I don't give a flying fig what's happened before Mica's death. That's none of your damn business. It's still a mother who lost a child. And the people going after, she said this about that, and she said that about this. You're disgusting. You're pathetic to go after a grieving mother. Of course she's going to say the wrong thing, moron. Because she's grieving her daughter. She didn't die in a car accident. She didn't die from cancer. She didn't die in her bed and sleep. It was a violent death, possibly at the hands of the man who groomed her from 15 years old. And trust me on this, if her parents or family have anything to do with her demise, the feds know it. So stop putting that crap out there. Because there's not one bit of evidence from the people who actually investigated the case. Not the ones who sat around causing drama and division and did nothing to figure out what happened to her that day. You're the same group of women who've done nothing. You've brought nothing valuable to the table. You're like a bunch of kids who need attention, constant attention. And you know how other people feel about you? You're exhausting and stupid. To put all of that garbage, and that's what that is. It's word salad garbage that you've put all over that Facebook page. And then puts a crystal ball as a profile picture. You're an idiot. And this is post coffee, by the way. So my brain is working full capacity. Because I mean every word I say. You add nothing to this case. And from the very beginning, this had nothing to do with Mica or even John Paul. Just investigating them would have been sufficient. It was people like you who kept adding this garbage to it that have made it very aggravating. And I know that's what you want to do. You know who do stuff like that? Wicked people. Evil, wicked, miserable, lonely, ugly people do this kind of stuff. They're so miserable in their own life that they have to spread misery. You will be exposed. If you think you won't be, you are fooling and lying to yourself. This is the very season. I suggest you take the page down. And please, anybody that's on Facebook, do not give oxygen at all or any attention to the agency because it's garbage. Absolute garbage. Not even worth flipping through any of the posts because it's nonsensical ravings of a moron. And I'm sorry, once again, I have to come on here and yell about people who say stupid crap. You've given yourself away. You've given yourself away. We know you could take screen recordings of people on TikTok. Congratulations. You are the winner. You feel good about yourself now? You've made fun of so many people throughout, and I know it's you. I know it's you, True Crime Ray, who complains about people doxing. Oh my God, people have doxed me and doxed me. You've done so much damage to so many people throughout the months. Who cares? Nobody cares your name. Nobody cares where you live. Nobody cares anything about you. And I'll tell you what, if you put me on your page, you just gave yourself away. And people will be watching you. Trust and believe. Now, do I think John Paul's behind it? Absolutely. Because you're all under his spell. And that includes Susie. Susie is not an innocent woman. Innocent women don't break up marriages. The end. The end. Don't go to church and raise your hand and go, thank you, Jesus, and at the same time be screwing somebody's husband. Doesn't work. God don't hear you. He doesn't even know who you are. Remember that scripture? And you're screwing the pastor while he's married to somebody else. 2 women. That ain't an innocent woman. That is not an innocent woman. That's disgusting. It's appalling. And if you're behind that page, you're just as gross as True Crime Ray. We've got multiple women. This is nothing new for John Paul. Nothing new. We had Tina Corley. She had a full page of stuff on TikTok. Full page of all kinds of comms going on. Comm means communication. She was trying to communicate something. I put interesting on one of her videos. That's all I put. And not only did she block me, but she got rid of all the videos. You know how I know she got rid of all the videos? Because I have another account too. And I went and looked. Why? Why would I bother her so much? Because John Paul Miller told her that's a bad person. She don't like me. Yeah, an innocent man gets raided by the feds. You women are dumb. I hope that John Paul is well endowed, because there's got to be some reason why you people, you women, idiotic, feel the need to defend this guy. I just don't get it. He's cheated on 2 wives, abused both of them, didn't pay for his child support, while he claims he was getting $100,000, because that was on my lawsuit. Would you like to see it? I still have it. That was his complaint. You're getting $100,000 a month and you can't afford to take care of your children. You are pathetic. But you 3 defend him. You 3 wanted to be with him. Ew. You talk about desperation. 101. And yeah, that's coming from an overweight woman. Thank you, True Crime Ray, for that pig face that you made for me a few months ago. Yeah. At least I don't have to chase after a man who gets raided by the feds and doesn't take care of his children. And every time somebody's got an opposing word against him, he files a civil lawsuit against them. Doesn't know the law, but he's so innocent. Abuses everybody around him and has a cult going on. He's the owner of a cult. He runs a cult. Everybody that surrounds him, you're either in on the criminal activities or you're brainwashed or you're stupid. Either way, I feel very sorry for you. Once again, let me just, before I end the show, let me repeat it again. Because sometimes people have to be told something over and over before they get it. Innocent people don't get raided by the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Is that clear enough? Did you get it this time? Stop pushing that narrative, because nothing supports that he's an innocent man. Let me explain it real quick on why. Because this person says, I can't physically be able to prove that he had anything to do with Mica's demise. Okay. There is a law. We went over this I don't know how many times, so let me try again. There is a law. If you persuade, push, or encourage someone to take their own life, you are responsible for their death. So either way, John Paul Miller is responsible for her death. Do you understand now? Whether he was holding it, the weapon, hired somebody to hold the weapon, or forced her to do it to herself, you're responsible, John. Now, nobody who can think critically for themselves believes that a woman who puts on her work uniform, does her hair, and is listening to Dr. Cloud ends up in that condition hours later. We can think for ourselves. I know that scares the crap out of you, John Paul, but that's the way it is. I know you've been able to fool, manipulate, and brainwash the people around you, but I know it's a shock to your system that the rest of us don't fall for that crap. It doesn't make sense. I'm going to leave my house in my work uniform. I'm not going to wear regular clothes. I'm going to wear my work uniform. Do my hair in braids. Listen to Dr. Cloud talk about the future, and then go take my life a few hours later. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure. Yeah, I got some land to sell you in the Everglades if you believe that, okay? Build your house on it. Idiot. Anyway, we all know that he's listening because that's what he does all day long. Walking around like his Hugh Hefner in his robe, listening to everybody on TikTok, YouTube, and looking at Facebook, making fake accounts and having his flying monkeys, which are these women who can't think for themselves and are so desperate to be with him, do his dirty work. Everybody does his dirty work for him. He just pays them or screws them. Yeah, Anne's being pretty clear today. Why? Because we're going on the 11th month of this case. And still, this guy, you'd think that he'd say to himself, let me be quiet. Let me sit back because I'm being investigated to the point where I had to hire a federal attorney. So let me shut the hell up. I screwed myself out of all this money by losing and dismissing all these civil cases. Maybe it's time for me to stop. Everyone stop. All my girlfriends, stop being an idiot and stop causing trouble. Okay, John Paul, we'll stop doing it. And they just stop. No, they make another account making fun of the mother and her husband. I don't care if she's had 25 husbands. Who gives a crap? Has nothing to do with Mica Miller. Nothing. You keep trying to take the focus off of her death. And that makes me wonder why. Why? Why are you so dead set on making it about Robbie Harvey having a disagreement, a legal disagreement with Johnnie Jacobs, but you don't want to bring up the fact that your boyfriend, John Paul, has been threatening him for months? Why don't you want to bring that up? I find that funny. I find that interesting. You're all idiots. That's how I'm finishing this show. Pack a lunch, Lar. Absolutely. You are absolutely right. Forgive me, guys. I love the fact that you stick around while I bitch and moan once again at John Paul Miller. Okay? You know, I know yesterday I was going hard on RH. And that's because sometimes when people are really good at what they do, I expect excellence. Okay? I wish that he would maybe team up and say who the team is with investigators, because sometimes he gets it a little wrong, and it would be nice that he got it correct. That was a hit and run that happened with the other Jacobs that night of the 14th. That's why the other driver is not on the incident report. And for the record, I had my accident, the one that's put me in the condition I'm in North Carolina back in 2005. Now, I'm obviously still here. That accident didn't take me, but it was a very violent and bad accident. And that took almost 2 weeks for my lawyer to get that incident report. And I'm, again, as I said, everyone lived. The other car was completely totaled, and mine had about $4,000 in damage. Okay? So with that being said, and this wasn't through the highway patrol either. This was through a local sheriff department. And it took them almost 2 weeks. So it's okay if it's going to take a couple of weeks for this. We have a death involved. That makes sense to me. You know? So no big deal. We wait and we see what happens if we must look into it. I don't see that it's really a big deal. But let me just rephrase, as I said yesterday, the Jacobs family is mourning his loss, no matter what the reasoning is or what's happened or what we speculate. Okay. Thursday is the funeral. And let's just give them some room. Let's give the people who have taken massive losses room to grieve and stop picking at their lives and what they do and what they say and how they did it and where they are and what they did in their past and all that other stupid crap alone. Because let me tell you something. You could be in their position one day. Would you want that to happen to you? Would you want somebody to pick apart you and your family and all the things you've said and done in your past while you're grieving a great loss? I wouldn't. Oh, Rando caught me again. Rando caught me again. If she listens to this video, she'll know why I jumped up out of bed and had to start yelling and screaming. Once again, Rando, I am sorry. She said she'd hate to be my bodyguard. It is true. I am a difficult person to protect. Anyway, we are at the end, and I thank you guys for joining me. As I said yesterday, I might be back if I have to correct stupidity or incorrect reporting, or just set the record straight on things, or maybe bring you actual news. That would be good, wouldn't it? Until then, please stay safe and God bless.